I'm good with all.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've started recording.
Can't quiet them down.
Can't wait to go back when the weather's drier.
You're not seeing Marion? I'm not seeing her, so we're
Either way.
The rest of the ones he signed?
What was that?
Is the rest of the ones or?
Yeah.
Well, this is from the last meeting.
Well, that's another
You got a lot of faith in these guys to approve.
I already asked. Oh, I was there for this meeting.
You gonna make room?
Sure. All right.
What's happening?
Yeah. Oh yeah, Thaddeus Lovelace, the attorney for that liquor permit. The one that's up today. Called me and asked if we've already voted on it. It's like, I just got that in the mail.
This one here?
For legislation code, yeah.
Yeah.
They're really good.
Yeah, he called me and asked me if I already, if we approved it, he'd like a copy of it. I'm like, I just got that last week.
Still has to go to
I
committee,
said,
yeah.
you're lucky it's making the committee schedule. And he's kind of like, to be honest, you're lucky it made the committee schedule.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they're here. Yeah. Probably talk about the railroads. Which would be cool if we could fix.
Yeah.
Oh, there's Mary.
Now his fears are the rest.
He was getting a little antsy over there, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. It's an old prancer.
I had a single reason for coming back from vacation, that was it.
This was the only one that I didn't really understand. Where's it going at? The new line. Over here.
That's it there. The railroad gate's right in here. It's in between the gate and the railroad. They come out there. I went out there the other day. Yep, see what they're saying.
Yeah.
I probably have too, and just didn't realize it was on the street.
Someone point out the court clock's a minute behind my phone.
They're already ready to go, still ticking away.
6:30, call to order the Streets and Sewers Committee. Clerk, if you'll take roll.
Mr. Barr?
Present.
Mr. T. Smith?
Here.
Mr. R. Smith?
Here.
Got a summary of proceedings we have an opportunity to review.
We have. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
If you'll take roll.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. T. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. R. Smith?
Yes.
Old business. Item 1, clerk, if you read.
Ordinance vacating a public street situated in the city of Marion, Marion County, state of Ohio, and known as being part of the southwest quarter of section 21, township 5 west, range 15 east, being part of the outlots 420 and 421, and being a part of Hoyle Street right-of-way area as recorded in the Horatio Hoyle's first edition, PB 3, page 114 of the Marion County Records, State of Ohio, and retaining permanent easement rights.
Okay, this is over 5 points. Have we had any information back on whether we could use the ODOT survey? Because I think that's what we were waiting on and keeping this in committee, right? To see about.
So the business owner had requested it, what, 2 weeks or maybe even 4 weeks ago? It could be in a greater area of the Hoyle Street. So, but.
Cuyahoga.
So we can follow up tomorrow to see if they're making progress. But I don't, if you're ready to move it on out, you can move it on.
I think Scott Bishop was gonna check with ODOT to see if there's any papers there.
Okay, I thought that's where we left off last, and they're not doing this till 26.
I'm pretty sure
Maybe
they're
27.
done, but I don't, well, I haven't heard back from Scott.
Okay, can we follow up with Mr. Bishop then? Recommendations of the committee?
Recommend we hold it the next time.
Anything from the audience? Administration?
So, Jason Shaw, Third Ward City Council. So I know exactly what street this is. This is the street that runs behind the drive-through.
Yes.
It's just that little section that's behind the drive-through, or is it
No,
the
it's,
street that goes?
the one that
between-
runs behind the drive-through is Cuyahoga. Hoyle runs along the railroad tracks and actually comes out closer to the tracks than the guard, the railroad signal.
Okay, so
After it makes the corner, it becomes.
Hoyle.
Hoyle, okay.
Which is really a continuous.
Right, it's a continuous, correct. This is kind of, okay, that's what I thought, was that little section there. And is this part of what ODOT was seeking input on closing this or not?
Not Cuyahoga, just the Hoyle.
Yes, ODOT is working with CSX or whatever, railroad track.
On Hoyle.
To close that. Is that, last I was here in January asking for information to voice concerns about that crossing, and I've yet to get an email or anything contact. So is this a done deal then?
With ODOT, yes, but it probably won't happen until 26, 27, as long as we approve it. Because that road dumps out behind the gates.
Yeah, I understand that, but when I was here in January, it was still under discussion, or ODOT and CSX was still seeking recommendations from the public. So that's now over, is what we're saying?
Yeah, my understanding from him when he was here is that, that intersection improvement is complete now, and they're looking at some improvement on the west side of the tracks as well as the other side of behind the drive-through where Hoyle's is at. So as far as I know, their plans are complete for that but then up came the Cuyahoga question that night, and we were looking.
The adjacent property owner was wanting to do Cuyahoga as well.
But that was separate from the state's.
Yeah.
So would it be safe to assume back in January when we first brought this question up, that it was already settled?
I don't think so.
Because I feel like we missed an opportunity, because in January I asked for information to voice concerns for or against closing it, and it appears that
Did you ask me about it?
I've asked this committee, and the engineer was supposed to get some
This
information.
is a separate project that ODOT is doing. This is for a separate project for that improvement on the other side of the track. So this has nothing to do with the issue of the tracks, if that's what you're asking.
what's the this? So that I'm not trying to be a jerk at this.
No.
That's so I'm clear what the this is.
The project is on the other side of the tracks. This is the, part of that reconfiguring of that whole.
Right.
So that's what this vacation's for. So I remember we talked about, the issue with the tracks being terrible, right?
Right, and the discussion of that, at that point was the time to get in front of them about an overpass and have these discussions. And it seems like that's passed.
Yeah, that wasn't included with this project. I mean, with the program for them to do anything additional for the tracks, that would be a separate issue. I can get you contact information for the CSX people if you want.
Well, if they're no longer, if they're not taking any suggestions any longer, it's a waste of.
It's a separate, they're separate issues, I guess, what I'm trying to say, so. The tracks need fixed, yes.
I don't think CSX was ever taking any suggestions, just the state. I mean, CSX.
Okay, well, is the state still taking suggestions? No, okay.
They took them back in January.
Evelyn?
Well, when I was, I've been more on this regional planning, what I gave to, Mr. Schauber is the letter that I think may have been what was referring to seeking input from neighbors, and I don't know who all got that. I believe I got a copy of it from the city zoning inspector, or, you know, it was an exhibit. But there are, as they're starting to mention, two different projects. One is the request that's becoming before this committee, which is the vacation of that portion of Hoyle. And for anybody who would like to, I do have some maps that ODOT provided. On it are the kind of the scope of their safety improvement project, which also includes this street vacation. So their safety project includes kind of north and south on Kenton Ave, on either side of the tracks. And so all of that started to come into conversation when city planning was reviewing just the street vacation. Because again, since the whole strip in that neighborhood has other needs, including like a shelter.
Walks and shelter.
And that the potential for even expanding this request was then brought up, and then looking into seeing if ODOT would pay for that additional surveying, description of Cayuga in addition to Hoyle.
And that's the night that was city planning and the guy from the state was here to answer questions.
So whether or not CSX and ODOT are still seeking input on their overall safety improvement plan, that I can't answer, but I would think that any comments the citizens have, we could relay to council and continue it, you know, pass it on as well, or factor that into approving this street vacation if that's, you know, conditioned upon something, if that's your desire. But for those who are interested, I do have some copies. On one side, it shows the vacation, a little portion that they're talking about on Hoyle in red. Then this area up here at yellow at Hawkins Street is where they want to combine the exit onto Kenton. So right now there's two drives. They would kind of consolidate that, change its angle and make it just one, and then create some more right-of-way here, all owned by ODOT. That's kind of where we thought maybe a shelter or something useful for the community could be put in, since they'll be absorbing it, it'll all be state right-of-way. So you're more than welcome to take one of these. That's of interest. I'll leave those up here.
Kristen?
Christian Dunstan, 211 East Fairground. I'm also second ward city planning member. And just to make Councilman Schauber feel a little safer, we hit them up for everything in that meeting. We hit them up for an overpass, we hit them up for new sidewalks, new streets,
Electric.
new railroad tracks. We hit them up to say that they can help with the railroad, not park on the tracks. And they seem their level of involvement is they need to get the street so they can give it to CSX. And that's all they're doing. That is their level of involvement. They're not looking to give up anything they don't gotta give up to get that street, because we pushed hard for an overpass. We pushed so hard that when his vote was over, he ran out of it. So, yeah, he had no worry to stick around. So, this part right here has not been brought to us yet, correct?
Right, that does not need to come to us. They're not vacating it, they're just kind of changing the way the access will be.
All right. Yeah, so it was, at least my understanding from being in that meeting, that everybody else has said, that when they vacate it, they're closing it. Like, they're gonna make it, you're not gonna have access to it anymore, is what CSX, what their vision is. They're trying to, right now you can get, it's a 2-lane road. They're closing all of it so that nobody will be able to get back there unless you are CSX. So that's their goal. The second point, which was, yes, it was Cuyahoga Street, and yes, the property owner on either side of that street did make the suggestion that he would like to see if we could use the ODOT survey. But I believe that night, if I'm not mistaken, the mayor was very clear. If you want to use that survey, the city's fine using it, but you're going to be the person taking the lead on getting permission to use it. And if he hasn't done that yet, I mean, I don't see any reason that you guys shouldn't, like the law director said, vote on this and get it moving, because he's had at least a month to do what he needs to do, and he hasn't, so.
I think I must have been misunderstood then. I thought we were kind of holding on to this, so there was potentially an amendment to it to include Cuyahoga.
We were gonna check it out, but it's not moving very quickly, and I don't think it should sit in committee.
Okay.
It might catch up.
Okay. Wishes of the committee? Oh, I'm sorry. Miss Michelle?
Yes, Michelle Ryman Lilly, resident of Feast Avenue, and I also work on Kenton Avenue. I actually access Hoyle Street at least 4 times a day to save time for my work commute. That's really only 2 minutes, so I'm not complaining about that. But the concern highly is if they completely vacate this area, when traffic is backed up due to the train blocking the crossing for multiple hours at a time, once this opens up and the traffic starts to go through, the light cycle in this area for the traffic area only allows about 5 cars through per cycle. So it does not give enough time for all of the backed up traffic from the train to be able to clear out of this area for each light cycle. So what actually ends up happening often is that, one, if people need to turn left onto Center anyway, they will go and take this route to bypass the light and then help relieve the traffic backup from the train. And secondly, if the train starts to, again, try to come up, oftentimes it only has a 5-minute window before the train tries to block this crossing again. Sometimes people will get almost stuck on the tracks and then they need to exit quickly to get out of the way of the train. The only way to do that is to exit on Hoyle onto Cuyahoga. And then if this gets completely blocked off, there's already somewhat of a road rage hazard from the trains when people get aggravated and then they cut through the drive-through, putting the patrons of that business at risk, whether they are pedestrians or exiting through their vehicle in the drive-through. If this area were to be vacated and blocked access, I feel it would put the patrons of the drive-through in even more danger. And it may even cross over into impeding onto Moto Mart's area as well, with people just trying to get out of the way and where they need to be throughout the day. So that is my highly expressed concern on vacating this area.
Those are definitely valid points. Are you concerned at all about the roadway dumping out behind the safety gates.
I do see the concern for
I think
that.
that's what the state
And,
is most concerned with.
A solution that some of us had possibly come up with was put an additional gate on the other side so that people from Hoyle cannot cut across and try to race across the track before the crossing barriers all the way up. Because I've seen that happen. I understand that safety concern, but I feel like an additional gate would be a cheaper solution.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Amy Craig, 365 Silver Street. I was at the planning meeting that night. I think you were at that. ODOT did say, recognize that there was going to be some issues with the timing with the lights and that they were going to try to work that out because I live in that area.
Yeah.
And I'm
I think they were supposed to provide a study and try to figure out how to adjust those.
But I remember them saying that they were going to do something. That it is a concern, but I saw someone going behind the tracks just today. So we're kind of darned if we do and darned if we don't.
Yes, ma'am.
Sean?
Yes, sir.
I would say just
You're
to add
okay.
talking about traffic darting across on Hoyle, you know, they come in behind the gate and almost inevitably when that train clears, pedestrians start coming across and those people are cutting, you know, off of Hoyle behind the gate, so.
Beat the line.
Yeah, it's like they're almost running into the pedestrians coming, so I see it's definitely a safety issue there.
Yeah, I believe so.
I had two things, but I forgot the first one. So have we looked at making that one way? That you can only take Hoyle Street, Coyote, and then dump out onto Center Street? That way it'll, right now it's two-way, and it'll prevent those cars from coming to the tracks and then.
So just one way, basically southbound.
Yeah, eventually it gets south, yeah.
Yeah.
And-
ODOT didn't bring that to us. I think they just brought this
Yeah,
proposal.
and I'm sure there's, the entire goal is to get that property to CSX for whatever reason. I remember my other thought. Is there plans for that intersection at 5 Points where the light is? Because that's goofy now. And if you take away Hoyle and Cuyahoga, I believe there's a big chunk that's lined off that you're not even supposed to be driving through. People still cut that off. So, it doesn't sound like anyone's thinking about that, reconfiguring that intersection there at all. Just the timing of lights isn't going to do anything unless you restructure that intersection.
You get trains off the track. It wouldn't be an issue.
Well, trains are a sign of a strong economy, which that's a hard sell when you're stuck behind one for 45 minutes or you're waiting on an ambulance, but we are a train town and we're one of the very few that has a northwest all directions trains, so.
Right.
I think we need to look at other options before we just blindly close Hoyle Street.
Yes, ma'am.
Pam Stone, Nye Street, Marion, and I've lived on Nye Street for 35 years. And I also worked at Whirlpool for 28 years. I know that Whirlpool has about 3,000 employees. They're running just 2 shifts of production, I believe now. It's been you're looking at 1,000 to 1,500 people that's going to be getting out of there at different times traveling. They get caught up in that when the trains are blocked off. If you cut that overflow area out where you can fit 10 to 15 cars, plus if the trains are blocking the tracks, it gives that person the option to say, I'm going to take Columbia Street, so after I went this way, they could make the right and we can keep traffic flowing, going a different route. If you cut that off, you're going to have, like Michelle said, you're going to have people cutting through businesses, cutting through Motor Mart and coming out there at the car wash to try to quick trip over. But you're not giving them that exit route also that will take away some of that traffic combustion. You're just going to have them lined up waiting on the train and people wanting to turn left in an intersection that's already kind of going in not a straight cross intersection. You've got, you know, the trees and stuff. So, I mean, I hope that you will reconsider getting Hoyle off, and the train companies, we know they have a lot of money, they could put another gate in there and to cover it up. So, thank you.
Thanks. Yes, sir.
Question. Evelyn, does this, if this would go through committee to council and have 3 readings, is there a public
Hearing?
Hearing.
I believe so, for an alley vacation.
before it would be finalized?
Also, on vacations, don't you actually barricade a street to kind of show what it would be like? Isn't that, no, that's not.
I'm sorry, in the past, we placed signs that there may be a traffic pattern. So that's what the organization has done in the past.
Any other comments, questions?
Can we make changes to this after we've sent it to council? Like, can we suggest the second, what are they called, railroad crossing thing? Yeah, because that's a good idea, I think.
Yeah, I think you can amend it, but I think it'd make more sense to keep it in committee and follow up on some of these things and see what options do we have. Yeah, see if we can get him back in the doors.
That makes sense.
Probably not, but we can try.
So entertain a motion.
I'm recommending that we hold it, try to get that guy back here.
Okay.
I will second that.
Take roll.
You don't need a motion, hold it in committee.
Good. All right, item number 2, clerk, if you read.
Ordinance vacating part of a 16.5-foot public alleyway lying west of lots 43 and 44 and east of lots 53 and 54. Original plat of the village, now city of Marion. Plat book 1, page 3, and retaining permanent easement rights.
So this is the one downtown behind Johnson, underneath the overpass that we've had for quite a while, but the survey just came back in. Is the applicant here? No? Do we have any comments or questions? No? Wishes of the committee?
I make a motion, we send this on to council without a recommendation.
I'll second that.
If you take roll.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. T. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. R. Smith?
Yes.
Okay, on the new business, Martin Luther King Neighborhood Association discussion. The floor is yours if you have anything you'd like to bring forward.
Good evening.
Good evening. If you'll just state your name and address, please.
I'm Gary Peterson on 562 Lee Street. Marion, I'm part of a committee that we just formed, the Martin Luther King Neighborhood Association. I'm the facilitator, not the president. And so what we've come here to talk about is also this plan that you're talking about the streets, but also the safety of our citizens as they wait on the trains to pass. We had discussed with council that we was considering putting up shelters. And now we're trying to locate a property to set it on. And then and another thought we have is, can we get some assistance in paying for those shelters? I think that's something that the citizens, the West Side citizens for sure, will profit from, because that's a safety hazard. Because, you know, as they say, the trains are there and they're there for hours. And so our pedestrians are waiting and they don't have anywhere to cover themselves. So we were looking at trying to protect them and trying to keep them safe. You know, if they don't have to rush across the track, they can have some shelter. That would be the proper thing to do for us. So we're looking to see if council would be able to assist us with that. I'm securing some property that we might be able to put one piece of shelter on. So if we can get that done, We really would like your assistance in making it happen for the citizen. And I'm also, I live on Lee Street where we're doing major construction. And that major construction is starting to become a hazard to us because actually, my wife is the pastor of Logos Christian Ministry. On Sunday, for 12 hours, we was pumping water out of the basement. Now, they came and they said that they had some back, those devices, what, I can't remember what they call, but they were supposed to, not allow the water to flow back. And so, actually, we had about 3 feet of water in that basement, 12 hours of pumping. So, and then two, that street is so hazardous that, you know, anytime it rains, we have puddles of water everywhere, and people are, you know, they don't have any direction to go home, and if they do, they're stepping out in puddles of water, and then they're taking this water and mud into their homes. And so,
Lee Street's not refinished yet, is it?
Lee Street is not finished yet, and yet we're considered, you know, I called on, after the snow, because I realized that during that time that they needed that shovel, plow the snow. But right now, we're talking about rain, and rain makes potholes.
Yeah.
And those potholes are dangerous to our cars, to our homes, you know, so, and like I said, that backfill that we're getting the water is starting to happen in more properties than more or less. So if you guys can help us out in that, we would appreciate it, and we're working toward getting some things done over there.
When's that project projected
We're,
to be finished up?
we're waiting for Frontier to move their lines to the other poles, and then the poles will be removed, and then the contractor will be back in to finish. So it's on Frontiers, we've been bugging them almost daily to get out there and get their lines moved to the new poles. So as soon as they get that done, the contractor will be back in to finish.
And I'm assuming the sewer or the storm water, or that's what the backflow was?
Yeah, well, that's on sanitary, but.
So once that curb's put in properly and the check valve through there.
The water has nowhere to go now, it's just laying out there.
Right.
So, you know, with the storms we had, it's not.
And I know that doesn't help you at the moment.
Send the city the bill.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, like I said, we was dealing with that, and so now water is starting to be a major problem for us over there. So, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you, and.
Do you have a question for
help
him?
get this done.
To answer one of his first, we absolutely will help fund building.
I believe
We've
Ms.
talked about
Brown
that
is looking for some
before.
grants as we speak, right, for some
We're
shelters?
looking for a grant for shelters through a transit grant. The problem I was having was trying to find somebody that would give us a little sliver of land to put a thing on. The backflow preventer that you talked about, have they been installed yet down there? Okay. So, I know anytime you call me or somebody else from down there calls about the street getting in bad shape, I always place a call to the engineer and have them get a hold of the contractor and try to go down there and, you know, appease it until they get back in and start doing the work down there.
And you have been doing that, and you appreciate it, but, you know, as soon as that project is done, the better it is for our citizens, and we can start doing some, you know, beautifying of the neighborhood, because I feel that we have, pardon me for saying it, been neglected for a while, and now that we have some opportunities to make it better, I want you guys to help us out if that's possible.
And Officer Ice and the safety directors are still on those burnouts that are on there. Hopefully we'll have those scheduled for removal during that same time.
Okay, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak to you.
Thank you. Mr. Smith, you had a question?
Yeah, it was for the safety director, actually. How is Frontier Lines holding up the construction of that street? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, there's a process as each utility comes in, and they're the last one, so sometimes they put up the new poles, the poles get moved before the road gets finished, so they happen to be last this time, so the poles are already up, and they have a schedule to get in there and move their lines to the new poles, and it's, you know, it's like we have to bug them, we do as much as we can to force them to get out there and move their lines over.
Would you be able to do the work around them?
I mean, the contractor's waiting to get back in there. I mean, it's hard for them. They don't want to come in while someone else is in there working, which they're working, so. Try to work with both of them, so, I mean, it's been several weeks, we're trying to get Frontier out there. I'm as frustrated as.
Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Hey, it'll be quick, 365 Silver Street. If you haven't been down that street, I would say drive down it, but you probably rip your front end off. People don't even have sidewalks. Okay, so this shouldn't be we're trying to get on it. They don't have sidewalks. If any of you didn't have sidewalks in front of your house, there wouldn't be, well, we're gonna try to get over the front here, we're gonna whatever. I tried to go down the street to make a video of how horrible it was the other day. I drive an F-150 that has a 4x4 package on it and turned because the road is so torn up. And we're leaving those people to live like that. Don't even have a sidewalk to their car. We'll talk to Frontier about it though. You're a lot nicer than I am, sir. Flood basements.
Jason Schauber, Third Ward City Council. I promise this will be the last time I come up. And this is an attempt to maybe, for my clarification, or mainly probably for my clarification. So, Mr. Peterson said he had water in his basement and he has a backflow device. And the remedy was, once the curbs and gutters are there, it has water to go away. So Mr. Peterson's problem probably is groundwater and not his lateral backflow, correct? Okay. So is that the way you take your problem, as it's groundwater seeping through your walls, or is it coming through your pipe?
I think it's coming through the pipe, because the amount of water that we occurred in one day, one evening, from Saturday to Sunday, we had about 3 foot of water in that basement.
Yeah, so I don't think we're really addressing Mr. Peterson's problem, because if he thinks it's coming from a pipe with a backflow device, but his answer was given based on groundwater, there's confusion there.
Yeah, if that's the case, I mean, there'd be a problem with the pipe, but,
Yeah, and I agree, I do believe the problem is groundwater, but the gentleman is saying that he believes it's from his pipe, so. Did the city put in these backflow devices as part of redoing that street?
yeah, the residents are given the option to install backflow preventer.
During the construction, okay. Is that the resident's responsibility, or?
To put that in?
Put that in?
No, the contractor does that.
The contractor does that? What would be the harm in checking that Mr. Peterson's backflow device is in fact functioning, because they can go bad?
We can absolutely do that.
Okay.
That's what's on my note, possible lateral backflow failure.
Yeah, because I believe it probably mainly seeping walls and groundwater, but if he thinks it's through his pipes, we should at least give him that opportunity to check it out.
I'll have an inspector go out there.
That's a lot of water for seeping also. It's kind of what I was thinking, but we've had a lot of rain.
Anything else for this committee? Seeing none, hearing none. We're adjourned, 7:03.
Nice work, Sean.
I get paid by the hour.
Great, just
Are we ready?
Yep.
Call Finance Committee to order, please. We'll take roll call.
Ms. Lang?
Here.
Mr. Rollins? Present. Mr. Ratliff?
Present.
Next on the agenda is the Finance minutes, summary minutes. Has everybody had an opportunity to review those minutes?
Yeah, unless anybody has any corrections, I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second. Clerk, take roll.
Ms. Lang?
Yes.
Mr. Rollins?
Yes.
Mr. Ratliff?
Yes.
Under old business, item number 1, update auditor of state project and bank reconciliation project for 22, 23, and 24. Veritas Auditor McGinnis.
Yes, those projects are complete as stated previously. I did also schedule a call with Newell to kind of walk through some of those potential options for the adjustments. That is getting scheduled for Friday of this week. I was out of town last week for personal reasons, so I wasn't able to schedule it for last week, but it should be scheduled this week so we can walk through it.
And what is the... Okay, so Veritas has done everything that they need to do.
Right.
Okay, so this is what a statement I'm going to make. I've been on city council now for 15 months and the chair of finance for 13 months. On January 1st of 2024, there was a lot of concern with the status of the auditor's office. Where was the city financially? What was happening with IRS and penalties? Where was the reconciliation process with Veritas? And where are we with financial statements and timeline for proceeding forward with the state audits? I made it a mission to get the answers to these questions, and 15 months later, there's still a lot of unanswered questions, and I have a lot of concerns. Veritas was hired by the prior administration, and the current administration continued that contract with them. The city to date has spent $273,927.90, thousands of dollars, to have Veritas reconcile the cash accounts. This was completed and a report was issued on February 14th of 2025. In this report, there were suggestions for changes within and outside of the department that would need to be made to operate efficiently. To date, these recommendations or adjustments have not been implemented or followed. The auditor is non-responsive to emails, no supervision, no oversight, no misappropriation, and misappropriation of funds. Authorized paid days off not covered in union contracts. Deputy auditor has been able to supervise during the absence of the auditor for the past several months due to being off for family medical and now overseeing the income tax department. The internal auditor has been restricted in performing her job responsibilities, i.e. unable to complete bank reconciliations, reversed incorrect entries made in 2024 NSF checks, duplicated entries, or supervise cash flow and payments. Clerks are working outside of their expertise and making changes to procedures and system operations, causing additional problems, i.e. incorrect journal entries that are affecting cash. Counting large sums of cash and checks behind closed doors. Unacceptable. Treasurer unwilling to make the necessary changes suggested. Communication seems to be a major issue within this office. Veritas has only had feedback from the treasurer concerning their report. Veritas and the state auditor are both concerned that adjustments and recommendations have not been completed on the auditor side. Utility billing changes have been made and are working as designed. Auditor's office is left unsecure when she is not in. Clark, Schaefer, and Hackett are ready to begin the preliminary preparations of 22, 23, and 24 financial statements, but waiting on the auditor. Was informed there has been no response from the auditor to date. Payroll specialist quit, and the auditor was offered assistance from the mayor and council to help her and the city through this period of time until ADP could take the task of payroll and the liabilities over. This would have allowed the auditor to focus on reconciliations and financial reports, IRS and state audits. Utility billing collections are proceeding, but not sure what action, if any, has been taken by the law director's office. We may need to consider an outside collecting agency or hire someone for on-site collections. Credits for 2 years or older on utility billing accounts could be transferred back into the enterprise fund, but have yet to be researched. Micromanaging the auditor's office is not my intent. However, as finance chair, my only goal is to make this committee and council aware of the issues that I am aware of, and suggestions or insight would be greatly appreciated. I've also attached a copy of the payments that we've made to Veritas. And I think we paid them a lot of money, and to not follow the procedures that they've put in place and do the adjustments, I'm at a loss for words. Do you have anything you would like to add to that?
The adjustments have been done with the exception of the liability entries.
Those
are the ones that we've needed research on. Those are the ones that I've expended all energy trying to figure out the answer to. I've asked multiple times with multiple people, and we've just now come up with a possible solution. We don't even know if it'll work.
So when I was in your office on Friday, and I talked to the internal auditor and asked if the NSF checks had been reversed, I was told no.
What NSF checks?
The ones that utility billing posted and the auditor's office posted.
During which time frame?
22, 23, 24.
Those have already been taken care of. Those were taken care of within the adjustments proposed by Veritas.
I'll check again on Friday with the internal auditor, but when she showed me and they had not been done. As of Friday, they had not been done. So I'm taking it they were done today possibly then?
No, those adjustments had been done a while ago.
Then we need to inform the internal auditor so she can complete the portion of her reports that because she told me they were incomplete.
Then I'll have to have a conversation with her about what she's talking about.
Goes back to one of my things is no communication within the office. Is there anything else that I've misrepresented here?
No, but I'd like a copy of that so I can directly reference it.
I believe the clerk can get that for you.
Jason Charles, Whitfield City Council. I'll be real brief, and I promise not to come back up. So Veritas is paid. There's no other invoices hanging out.
No.
So by paying them, we are saying that Veritas has followed their contract to the letter. And you have policies and procedures, maybe not policies, but procedures on how to do stuff within your office.
Yes.
You have that now.
Yes, we were given that back in February.
Okay. In February, we were asking about this. Okay, good enough.
Any other comments or concerns on that?
There's some pretty strong assertions in this. And I didn't know if, a couple things, if we want to talk about them.
I would love to, yes.
Well, I guess we'll start with number one.
Okay.
Not that this is a big point, but the prior nor the current administration, and I'm assuming you're talking about the mayoral administrations, hired Veritas. This was actually an initiative by city council that it was, in fact, my suggestion to get a forensic accountant to come in and help with this. City council then tasked the auditor to interview different people. She's the one who wanted Veritas. City council went with the funding and then has continued to up them. And, you know, although it was my original idea, I fell off the wagon a couple re-ups ago just because I'm not happy with the progress that we've seen in general. And, you know, I think when we started this, it was either $60,000 or $80,000 that we intended on, you know, spending, and then we ended up spending $280,000. And, you know, that's in no way, shape, or form the project that we envisioned when we started it. You know, I don't know that we should publicly state that people are off on family medical leave. I don't know if that's any violation there, but, you know, we should probably refrain from saying that. You know, you've got assertions against the treasurer and the law director's office as well. And, you know, then circle them all as in it's all an auditor issue. But, you know, and then asked her if she had any suggestions. And on 1A, you say auditor is non-responsive to emails, and then comma, no supervision, comma, no oversight, comma, misappropriation of funds. Authorize paid days off when not covered in union contract. I guess we should all want to know, if you are going to have an assertion of misappropriation of funds, what are we talking about?
At Christmas time, the auditor authorized her office to be closed, and they were paid. Union people were paid, and they did not have to use their banked vacation time or sick leave. And the grievance, union did file a grievance, and it was remedied.
The union did not file a grievance.
They were going to file a grievance.
Yes, and after discussing with them, there was no grievance filed. They wanted confirmation that it wasn't going to happen again, because it was my mistake that I was under the impression I had that power, which I didn't. And I gave them that confirmation, and there was no grievance filed.
But the city ended up paying that time off. And they did not think it was fair to make the employees, the union employee, to pay that back and use their vacation or personal time or whatever. Is that your understanding?
I worked
with.
So if you're directing the question to me, I worked with the administration, and it was resolved by a letter of understanding with the labor unit, which did avoid the grievance, as the auditor indicated.
But the city did still pay those funds.
So the city paid workers for hours not worked, yes.
And so if I understand, you closed the office a day, or 2 days, or 3 days?
Right.
When did you close the office?
It was closed Tuesday through Friday, I believe, with, I think Christmas was on a Wednesday or Thursday. So it would have been closed 3 of the 4 days from what I did. Closed for the holiday, and then I closed it the other 3 days.
Okay. You know, I mean, one of them was Christmas Eve. Why did you think you had that authority to pay people not to come to work?
Because administrative personal leave was what I was under the impression was allowed to me to give at my discretion, at which point it was determined that I didn't have that power, which is why I said I understand now that I don't have that power, and I will not be using it.
But prior to you actually doing that, I told you on 3 different occasions that you did not have the authority to do that, and I believe Mr. Robbins, who was the safety director at the time, also told
We
you.
never had a conversation about that prior to me closing my office.
Me and you did.
No, we did not.
Yes, we did.
No, we did not.
Naomi Gregory, 65 Silver Street. We just spent $10,000 on desks for a job that didn't even exist and $500 for an office chair, and y'all are sitting up here arguing about paying people that actually work for the city by mistake.
I'm
I'm just saying, like, we have such bigger problems than accidentally paying a couple of people in one department for one day, that you're gonna put a whole letter together. You're the lady that knew more than the IRS. What's that cost us? I don't see nothing about you in there knowing more than the IRS. You're gonna chastise this woman. You cannot talk about people's medical situations, especially on live stream TV. You just set the city up for another lawsuit. Maybe you should sign that bond, Violet, because you're starting to charge the city some money. And if you think there aren't any citizens that won't hire attorneys and sue you, we will. I'm one.
Christine at 851 Center Street. Can I please ask you what the policy or what the procedure is when someone's to be recognized from the audience? Is that what am I okay to just walk up at any time and just scream at you? I don't know who this person is, I barely caught her name, but is that appropriate to come and address you in that way?
Man, you do not want to defame me right now, I'm telling you.
I want to understand the procedure when someone does want to address you. What is proper? Are you to then?
I think I'm
wait
supposed to
until
sit here and take it.
Okay.
Or get sued if I don't.
Okay, because that's where I just want to understand parliamentary procedure, Robert's rules, and how, I know I go to a commissioners meeting and they have their rules posted as to how they're supposed to proceed. And I haven't been to a council meeting for a bit and I've not experienced this way. So if you could give me, and now I actually see guidelines for public comment, so I'd like you to follow your own guidelines if you could. I think out of respect for yourselves. Thank you.
Just it's during a council meeting, the president of council runs the meeting. In a committee meeting, the chair runs the meeting. Although, so the chair is tasked with the running of the meeting.
Thank you.
We are pretty lax.
Okay.
So, and I mean, was it right to close the office in the shape that the office is in? Probably not. It's, Christmas Eve, the day after Christmas, this, and I know it was before several people were on, but this city council and this city was fine in this very courtroom, the judge giving a $10,000 bonus to her bailiff, and now we're not okay with closing the office on Christmas Eve. It's, sometimes we have to pick, and I'm not saying any of it's right, but, if it's good for one, it's good for all. And, that's what I think about that. So what do we mean by no supervision, no oversight?
A lot of times there's nobody in the office. And it seems that they're just kind of doing their own thing in there. It's sometimes you go in there and you can't find anybody.
Like not one person in the entire office?
Well, I was in there Friday and a couple came in and there was nobody available to help them. And so I asked them what they needed. That's, because I was standing there.
What time Friday? And which office did you come into? Because there's 2 doors.
I was in
The auditor's
Chelsea.
office.
I was in Chelsea's office. Leslie was in your office. And Reba has now moved to.
So there's 4 people that you just mentioned that were in the office at that time.
But nobody was at the area where people come in to ask questions. Nobody was in that area.
But there were 4 people in the office at that time.
And nobody was taking care of them. I can go into more details. Somebody should be sitting at that desk where customers are coming in.
Continue, please.
Lunches, breaks, whatever, there should be somebody sitting there to address any public business that comes in.
And each of us take turns that when people walk in, we address them as needed. If someone wasn't out there for the 30 seconds that someone walked in,
I was in Chelsea's office for 45 minutes.
And you mean to tell me they stood there for 45 minutes without being addressed?
No, they didn't stand there, but there was nobody in that area for 45 minutes.
So there was somebody in the office?
Yes.
Okay, because I thought the original thing was we go in and there's nobody in there.
They were in their individual, one was in the auditor's office.
Okay, because I know I had a meeting with Councilman Barr about a week prior to that, and I was kind of thinking in my head, I think there were 7 people that I can count that were working when you and I were in there. I don't know, maybe it was a one-off when we were there, a one-off when you were there, but it just, I don't know. And there were people being helped at the counter, both when we got there and left. And I'm not here as anybody's defender. I'm going through, and council, and this is something that I've been guilty of in the past myself. A council person has to realize that is her office.
I understand
as
that.
unhappy as we may be with how an office is being run, we aren't the auditor's boss, we aren't the mayor's boss, we're not the law director's boss, we're not the treasurer's boss.
And I understand all that. But with everything that is going on and everything that's not getting done, it's a concern.
So what are we doing? I've sat through this year in your what, 4th year, 5th year? I don't even know.
3.5.
3.5. Council has expressed frustrations. We expressed frustrations with the previous auditor, and actually we've expressed frustrations with, in my tenure, the 2 auditors before that at various times. But we're not doing anything. Nobody has done anything to fix it.
That's kind of my point. These are just things that I've seen. And when I see reports not getting done, and I go in and there's nobody, she's not there, the deputy auditor's not there, they're all standing back in a corner, chit-chatting, and that's happened on numerous occasions. I think we have a lot to get done, and somebody should be working on it.
Then on E, you say treasurer unwilling to make the necessary changes suggested.
Tommy, would you like to explain that, please?
Explain what?
The changes that were suggested by Veritas and why you don't want to make those changes. I'd like for you to explain your reasoning.
Still item 1, right? Still item 1.
Do you have the Veritas letter that he gave?
Not in front of me, but I've read it.
Recommendation? Do you have that, what he had for about recommendation?
I have read it, but I don't have it in front of me.
I'll read it.
Which,
On page 4, the recommendation, section 3, where it says, expand treasurer's training and completing reconciliation. Treasurer Tommy Reeves currently performs partial reconciliation. Of course, I don't know what that means when it says partial, when I'm thinking I already been doing reconciliation the way I've been trained. It said we recommend that he take responsibility for performing full reconciliation of the cash accounts rather than limiting his review to disbursements. This would include complete training on the bank reconciliation module of the New World. And what was your question?
is, when you and I had talked about this.
No, what was your question?
Oh, why is it that you don't want to do it?
Do what?
The recommended changes, because the auditor's office is willing to train you on what you need to do to complete that reconciliation process.
Do you know the Ohio revised codes of my job?
Pardon?
Do you know the Ohio revised codes of my job? Any of the law director?
I do.
Can you tell me?
I'm sure you've read it, Mr. Reese.
Is there anything in there about if they're gonna change my job and retrain me, have to be done by January?
Give me a minute, I'll read the statute.
Well, you're looking that up. My understanding is that the checks are being reconciled, but the deposits are not being reconciled.
Christian Duncan, 211 East Fairgrounds. Mr. Reese, you said that they're gonna change your job, change the job of the treasurer, is what they're doing? They're gonna redefine it? So, I'm just trying to
We're not
understand.
redefining, in Veritas's reconciliation, there are parts of the reconciliation that are the treasurer's responsibility that aren't currently not being done.
All right.
He said that, the way I was trained, then when I went to the internal auditor's office, I had asked him a question. How am I gonna be able to do that? I'm not even authorized to go into that part of the New World.
You have authorization to go.
Yeah, you went in and you authorized that. Then there was another part, they wanted me to train in, and I couldn't get into that. And she had the paper stuff written on, this is what I go by. I can't explain it to you, you had to be there to see it.
That part of the recommendation is not going to be completed. And I understand that he was trained, but was he trained on the full process? He wasn't.
So are you defending him now, or are you telling us he's not doing what he's supposed to be doing?
No, I am.
It's very confusing.
I'm trying to defend him. I mean, the auditor's office wants to train him.
Well,
And show him his portion that he needs to do.
what I need to do, you can't just show it to me. Just like he recommended, I gotta be trained in the whole new module of the new world. And
Well, I mean, you do realize we haven't had a successful audit in like 4 years, so yes, there's gonna be some things that are gonna be different. That's one of the reasons we hired the firm that we did to try to get to the crux of
yeah, of course.
why reconciliations haven't been done.
Yeah, I understand that.
Okay? So what is in your mind, what is a decent timeline for you to implement what they've outlined here? You said not by January. What would be a good timeline?
Probably when the next treasurer comes.
Okay. Okay. Well, we got our answer then.
When is your term up?
December 31, 2025. This year is December.
And I don't even know, are you running for reelection?
At this time, I'm on the ballot, but let's go back 3 years before I got into office, clearly. You wanted me to resign, didn't you?
Well, you have, in my opinion.
Let's talk tonight.
Oh, yes, you have what appears to me to be a consistent rejection of learning and performing your job. And I picked up on that super early, and I told you, if you're not willing to do your job, there's the door. And that's, I think, a verbatim quote what I said. And the problem is, the job has not been done. The expert that we paid $274,000 to come in and look at it said the job is not being done. And it appears to me that you have a refusal to even learn or have interest in learning how to do it.
My turn?
Sure.
Oh, I think you paid $4,000 for me to be trained.
We did.
Well, I thought I didn't want to be trained. New World trained me how to do this job. And I've been going to the auditor, the deputy auditor. Yeah, you're doing a fine job. You're doing real well. So something's wrong here. Something is wrong. I mean, you paid $4,000 for me to be trained. I got trained. I'm doing the job. Now all of a sudden, you bring in Veritas. And what they want me to learn, then when they went into the internal auditor's office, I couldn't even get in the system because I'm not authorized. That lets me know that ain't my job.
But you have given him authorization to.
He has authorization.
Yeah, she went in there and authorized me,
Well,
but then I still don't know how to do the job because I've never been into that part of the system.
And that's.
Hence the training.
That's why they want to train you, because it's new. This is.
You had to be there to see what all they want me to do, believe me. Don't have time to deal with you on this. You have to be, I've been trying to tell people to come up to the office and see what I do.
And I asked you, did I not ask you if I could sit with you and see exactly?
I told you to.
Thank you.
I told you to.
And I told you to give me a
But
date that I
hold
could do that.
You had a problem before I got in the office.
Yes.
And let me just talk. There was a problem before I got into the office.
Problem with what?
They had lost $340,000 before I got here. And when they was going to do the audit, they was asking me, state auditor's office, to find certain monies. Now, I was trained by New World. And I'm thinking I'm doing everything right before I was trained. And they came up to me 6 months. 6 months after I had been in office. And they said, you haven't been reconciling right. I said, what do you mean? I just turned it in to Deputy Watson in June. They said, well, I have it. It's hard to say, but 6 months now. I've been doing this, what I was trained for 6 months. And they just now coming to me after 6 months. And
No.
New World, matter of fact, to tell you the truth, New World reconciled the first 6 months. And that's when it came up for me to be trained in New World system. And when I came into office, which y'all don't know, you just go by what you see. I had asked when I got in office. When the New World, when you get trained in the New World, I want to be trained. Didn't happen. When I came in, because I know if you're a CPA, and you come do working with a system, you got to be trained in if you ain't used to a system. The training, y'all know the training didn't happen for me to when? October or something like that? September? It ain't my fault.
Tommy, nobody is saying that you're doing anything wrong. That's,
Yeah, but you're trying to change the whole, make me change the whole, what I've been doing and everything else? Yeah, come on. Like I said, it probably happened on the new treasurer.
Mr. Barr.
Sean Barr, First Ward City Council. Just to clarify, I don't think you're up here trying to chastise any position or any job because of the sunshine laws and the open meeting acts. You're trying to let the rest of the committee know the things that are concerning you and the administration. Is that right?
That's correct.
That's all I want to reiterate.
Mr. Schauber.
Jason Schauber, Third City Council.
You're up there again.
I know, I said I might, I promise.
I didn't hold you to it.
So, I am under the understanding that through, I believe it was a Veritas recommendation, that the previous roles, or the roles before Veritas recommendation, was that the treasurer was doing what the auditor should be doing, and vice versa.
Right, correct.
So is that what we're talking
Yes.
about, needs the training?
Yes.
Not back when, and Mr. Reese, you did get a raw deal when you first came in. It was, I got scolded by the party chair for you not getting, which I really don't care about that. But we did eventually get you trained and we gave you the resources you need. So if it's a new change now, I think it's unfair to have this conversation publicly with Mr. Reese when a suggestion by a firm that I don't believe had the city's best interests at heart, telling you to do something different. Because reconciliation is what got us in this mess 5 freaking years ago. And then to go off of a suggestion from a company that I have no faith in, and then to chastise a man publicly, I think it's just wrong.
Well, I just think the underlying problem is nobody knows how to do it. And nobody knows how to actually reconcile. And what we've learned is nobody's willing to learn. So it's not going to get any better.
No, it's not.
We will be sitting here next year wondering why we are another year behind, because it's not going to get better when you don't know how to do it and you're not willing to learn.
Kind of set up better myself.
That's
So, I
not
mean,
wrong.
I'm personally done talking about it.
Do you have any other?
What do you mean, not willing to learn? Who are you talking about? Who? The auditor, the internal auditor, or the treasurer?
all the above.
Like I said, you guys, the council, passed an ordinance for me to get training. I got the training, floating in the world, and I've been doing that.
But the training you got.
No, what I'm saying, no, he said, nobody wants to learn. Well, I did learn.
And that was based on what New World knew. And now they know different, is that correct? Because New World was in every phone call, every test, everything that we did to get these counts balanced. New World was in every one of those meetings. And do they agree with Veritas or do they disagree with Veritas?
I don't know if they've been provided with the same recommendations, but I can discuss that with them on Friday.
Was it also, say, did the state auditor's office?
They were
understand
in
what
on,
Veritas-
the state auditor office was in on every one of those conversations. Well, almost every one of them. The majority of
They
them.
agreed with Veritas, how they were recommending it?
Yes.
Why? Nothing.
Any other questions or concerns?
Karen Summer, Council President. I hate to just leave this right here when it sounds like you had one more thing to say. And I want to just ask between the two of you, if I understand. Okay, so Mr. Reese, you had training through New World, and now there is a new bit of training that needs to happen. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and is that news to you? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
What I read about, I gotta be trained in the whole new module of New World. If somebody, this is what Veritas recommended.
Okay.
Now, I was trained in reconciliation by New World. I mean, which reconciliation you talking about now? I mean, they the ones trained me.
So that's what I'm trying to clarify. So
It's
a new one because New World had a problem anyway,
right.
right? So it's still New World, but it would be a new training.
Yeah, so.
Okay, and then back to what Mr. Ratliff said, are you willing to do that new training with New World? That, it was not,
Oh, I
that was
don't
the
know.
heart of, I thought, what he just
I
said.
don't know.
Okay.
I think I asked that question and he said the new treasurer would do that.
Because, I don't know, because New World hadn't contacted me or anything, and the internal auditor was the one telling me what I should be. But I wasn't authorized to go in there, and she went in her office to make sure I was authorized to get into that.
Because the auditor asked the internal auditor to train you in that area because that is what the internal
Well, should it have
auditor.
been already set up if she knew she was gonna train me, instead of have to run in her office and get me authorized on it? I mean, it should already been authorized.
It's
And
a,
then plus, it's more than what you think. You should,
it's a step by
like I
step.
said, I don't need this. I don't need this. Y'all wanna do it your way, go ahead.
I'm not to interrupt
Just
him,
trying to make sure that your statement still stands.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't know how to do your job and you're not willing to learn, there's nowhere to go from there.
Any other questions or concerns, statements? If not, we're going to move on to the next item. Item number 2, audits for 21, 22, 23.
The Hinkle system filing for 2021 was completed last Friday. The state auditors have been notified.
And status for Clark, Schaefer, and Hackett.
They can't start until 21's finished. I have received no communication from Clark, Schaefer, Hackett. So as far as I'm aware, they cannot start until 21 is finished.
It was my understanding that Clerk Schaefer and Hackett had sent you an email, and they were wanting, there was preliminary things that they were wanting to get done
When did they allegedly send this email?
2 weeks ago.
No.
Any questions or concerns or comments?
You know, this isn't proper and it's out of turn and we have nothing in front of us, but I make a motion that we transfer $3,000 into training for the treasurer. And if he doesn't get training, I'll be damned if it's our fault. So I'm gonna make a motion that we put $3,000 into a training line item for the city treasurer.
Second. To be trained by who?
I don't even care. I mean, he needs to figure out how to do it, and, you know, the word module is a section. He needs to be trained in another section. And so and then to storm out is just, I don't.
It is, it's another section of what he's already doing. And the internal auditor is prepared and ready to train him on how to do that.
We already attempted once.
I know.
Would you want to train him?
No.
I mean, he's the most unapproachable person you could try to teach something to I've probably ever talked to.
But
I mean, he's what we have to work with.
I'm just saying, if we put $3,000, who are we going to pay to train him?
Like I said,
I mean,
I don't care if I don't care. I made a motion. It got a second. And if he doesn't get any training and if he doesn't learn anything, that's on him.
Do we have to? Can we make a motion and vote on it?
We absolutely can.
Well, clerk, take a roll.
Ms. Lang?
Yes.
Mr. Rollins?
Yes.
Mr. Ratliff?
Yes.
And do we have a timeline on that?
It's just, we're making the money available.
But do we want it done within 30 days, 60 days, 90 days?
Again, we're not his boss, but I'm not going to throw up any roadblocks there. He has the funding there to pay New World or whoever he wants to pay to come in and teach him how to do the job by the report that he has held in his hand for months.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, or concerns? Moving on to item number 3, penalties and appeals. Any updates or additions to that?
No, I've received no new correspondence.
We'll get that legislation put together.
Moving on to item number 4, Finance 19 Appropriation Nature Works Grant. Clerk, if you'll read, please.
I'll find it first. Ordinance to authorize the auditor to appropriate the necessary funds and accept reimbursement funds from the Nature Works program through the State of Ohio's Department of Natural Resources and declaring an emergency.
And this is coming from our grant writer, Ms. Brown.
So this is the appropriation of the funds for Nature Works, which was the phase 2 of the Lincoln Park. We didn't get, so we needed a little bit more to take the path for phase 2 where we wanted it. So we didn't need to talk over to get that money. We sat down with Evie and we came up with the CDBG revolving loan fund. So that it basically doubles it and it can take it further. I have the cost estimate if you guys would like to see it as well.
And is this fully funded, 100% grant? Or?
Our match is the CDBG, so yes.
Okay.
Motion is sent on the council with a recommendation to approve.
Second.
Clerk, take roll.
Ms. Lang?
Yes.
Mr. Rollins?
Yes.
Mr. Ratliff?
Yes. And again, that path is something that I've probably talked to Evelyn about for over a decade. And again, thank you to the administration for doing it. I drive by there a lot. There's seldom a time that somebody is not on the part that's done. You know, I've been on there several times and it's really nice and it will be a really good addition when it's all complete.
Looks awesome.
And just a little bit. And one more on this regional planning. No, I do really appreciate the way this is working out. Normally, we have this revolving loan fund, but we can't often use it unless we have a special waiver. But when I was asking our field rep, you know, could we put it toward this project? And they said, well, you can do it as long as it's a project you already have, that you're just continuing on with it. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, cha-ching. So that was really great. So then that sort of saves the city the match money, and, you know, it just really keeps the ball rolling. So I'm really pleased the way that we're to make that work.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Moving on to item number 5, Finance 20 Appropriations Amendment Ordinance 4725. Clerk, if you'll read, please.
Ordinance making adjustments to appropriations for liability insurance for the year ending December 31st, 2025.
Okay, this is coming from Ms. Courtwright.
Madam Chair, here's one for each of you. Outlines both the ordinances that I brought for you, just so you guys have that in writing. And all this entry is doing is cleaning up the liability insurance. Last year we had to kind of in between phase, so I appropriated what I thought we would need for 2025, and most of the funds were reduced. There's 2 or 3 funds that had to be increased, but everything else is being just reduced, and then it's just de-appropriating it out of their budgets. Since they have the ability to move money around, they don't want moving those kind of funds around.
Any questions?
Motion to send to the council with recommendation to approve.
Second.
Clerk, take roll, please.
Ms. Lang?
Yes.
Mr. Rollins?
Yes.
Mr. Ratliff?
Yes.
Item number 6, Finance 21 Appropriations Amendment Ordinance 47.25, number 2.
Ordinance making adjustments to appropriations for the year ending December 31st, 2025.
Okay, this also is coming from Ms. Courtwright.
Yep, and this is the second portion that lists here. General fund is a 0 increase. We did have a vacancy from the IT specialist, so I moved $500 into this account. We've come across a situation where we've had to do a reimbursement, didn't have appropriations for some fingerprints and such, so I just want to put a little bit in that line. I typically don't use it, but that way we have the funds there if those kind of things occur for the rest of the year. But again, it's a 0 increase to the general fund budget. Airport, we had a bill from last year we need to kind of finish up, and it is a 95.5. We'll get the reimbursement back. So the amount in there on 408, we'll get 95% of that back to us. They have a sub helping for the senior homemaker grant, which helps shopping for seniors. So there's one of them that's kind of subbing in for the other. There's cash to cover that in their fund, so this is just appropriating so that we can reimburse mileage for them to do that. We de-appropriated some capital and street fund. The 2 things that they included in their 2025 budget came in under budget, and again, we're just de-appropriating it, so it's not funds that they would be able to use for another purpose, since that was earmarked for capital and we did the 2025 budget. And last year when we did the cleanup for the COPS grant, we didn't, I must have been off a little on my cash, so it was like $2,500, 24 and some change. That money would just need to be moved over to 260, and last year, since we couldn't move money around, I just brought it back in 2025 for us to do a final cleanup. And then we're doing part of my 302 analysis, which is bond retirement fund. We had some adjustments that will need to be taken care of for the purchase orders that we have for the debt payments for Fund 502, which is sewer, 504, which is storm, 602, which is the aquatics, and 302 being the bond retirement fund. So these are just some cleanup things, but those would need to be taken care of so we can make the bond payments that are due in May and November this year. And just a kind of update on bond retirement fund 302. That's the one I've been trying to get the balance balanced out. That one's a clearing account, should zero out every year. The 23 and 22 journal entries had been done to clean up 22 and 23. I'm working on 21. It was balanced prior to that. So I think once I get those entries done, we should have a zero balance in that bond retirement fund, and that'll help our cleanup on that, which was overdrawn by $1 million. It was just cleanup, need to go to other funds. So again, it's more of a shell game. Shouldn't charge the 302, shouldn't charge other funds, and that will help clean up those funds, and we have a better accountability of our fund balances.
Motion to send on with a recommendation to approve.
Second.
Clerk, take roll.
Ms. Lang?
Yes.
Mr. Rollins? Yes. Mr. Ratliff?
Yes.
Moving on to item number 7.
Ordinance designating depositories of public monies of the city of Marion and declaring an emergency.
This is coming from Mr. Reese.
Well, it's amending one of the ordinances, changing just the percentages in the bank, where Bay Bank only allocate a certain amount, so we're up the percentages in First Citizen and Union Bank. And it's good for First Citizen for sure. Their interest rates yet still at 4 1/4. We need to put more money into that account. There's only a certain amount to go into Bay Bank. So it's just changing the percentages. Two banks.
On Fahey Bank, are we increasing that percentage or decreasing
That's
that?
decreasing.
That one's decreasing?
Go by the value of our money. It never, Bay Bank will never, we can never go over 3.5 million, and then we have to be switching it out. So we thought we'll just put more percentage in First Citizen. You know, that allocated out more, since they are 4 1/4, and I will use them.
Okay, is there any questions?
Yeah, if you could explain to us under section 2, it gives a name of institution, and it lists banks that aren't in the depository of active monies. What is the list in section 2 for?
Well, those banks, those can be used for interim money at any time. That's why Fifth Third is in that. Fifth Third would be interim money. Anytime we have to take any money out of Fifth Third or whatever, have to go to the TIB and everything. So those banks are for, if they're not gonna be active money.
Long-term investment?
Yes.
So do we have money in all of these banks?
No, not in all of them.
Okay, so.
Right now, we just have money in, matter of fact, thought that might come up. I just made a sheet for the finance committee. So I don't have to do too much talking tonight. That's from March 31st, that's the banks we deal with right now, what's in.
Maybe.
All right, I guess here's the crux of my question. If we're going to use institutions in the amount of deposit in each are as follows: Fahey Bank 35, Union 15, Premier 10, Huntington 10, First Citizens 30. If you add those up, that's 100% of the money.
Right.
That's good. So then under section 2, you talk about name of institutions, and Chase Bank is on there.
Yeah.
Fifth Third is on there. PNC is on there. But if we're already at 100% in the 5 banks listed.
In other words, those banks in number 2, we can use them at any time if we want. In other words, you see also in number 2.
So section 1, that's all general fund.
Excuse me?
That's all general fund.
Yeah.
And section 2.
You gotta get that sheet every month.
And section 2 is long-term money that we're moving from the
They
general
can
fund
be
to
used.
long-term.
It can be used for
Okay.
long-term. I mean, some of them banks we don't even use.
And
That's just there because they have signed the paper that we can use them.
Then that's what I was gonna say. These are banks that we are authorized to deposit
Yeah.
funds into.
Yeah.
Okay. If
It
we
shouldn't be
need to.
difficult. I mean, this ordinance is just it's just amending the percentages. I mean, y'all signed for it some other time ago, but it should be hard.
Well, I'm sorry, that shouldn't be hard, and I don't get it. But what my question is, let's say you're saying that you could move money to Chase Bank by section 2. But if you're not authorized in section 1 to put even 1% of the money there, how are you going to use it?
No, I can, in section 1, you say if I would move money from section 1 to the bank, well, if it's over $50,000, I would have to go through TID anyway.
Correct.
If it's less than that, that's active money in the first section. I can move that anytime I want if it's less than 50,000 and put it in Chase.
But my question is, if you're not by section 1 authorized to even put 1% of money into Chase, how do you say that you can put money in Chase? If you're at, again, Fahey Bank is 35, Union 15.
Well, I probably wouldn't.
Okay.
Jason Sharp, a Fort City Councilman, and I'm not promising you anymore if I'll come back up.
I still won't hold you here.
So you have to look at it at, I believe it's 3 different types of funds. There's
Yes.
active, interim, and long-term. The active ones, I believe we have to designate percentages with banks. And there's other reasons why. I will not be able to articulate that very well. And then the other banks we have that are listed in section 2, those are for interim funds that are, I probably will be wrong on this, but could be long-term, and that's up to the TIB to determine. Nope, well, I knew I was gonna be wrong, but.
No, you were close.
I know.
You were close. So there's only 2 types of funds, active funds and interim funds.
Okay.
And if you look at section 2, if you kind of read through that, actually section 3, so the Treasury advises the city when there are funds that are not necessary in the next 6 months. Those become interim funds.
Right.
When he says those monies aren't necessary in the next 6 months, then he advises the Treasury Investment Board, and the Treasury Investment Board makes a decision on where to deposit them.
And that's where I came up with long-term.
Yeah.
So I'm close enough. Does that answer your question, Mr. Ratliff? I mean.
Oh, I got it answered, all right.
So, this is for whomever. The interim funds could be placed at any of these banks, but I believe this is defining the amount of time. It's August 1st, 2024 through August 2nd, 2029. Is that correct? And it can be in those banks for that long. And then it can't go past that date, because that August 2nd date would seem to be a stop date.
In other words, we would have to update the date.
Right, you'd have to say, we need to extend these dates or move the money. So that's a term of 5 years, if I'm reading that right. Is that, well, I don't know about you, but is everybody else on the same page? All right. I just have to tell you, I'm sorry. All right, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Not. I make a motion, recommendation to approve, send it on to council.
Second.
Clerk take roll.
Ms. Lang?
Yes.
Mr. Rollins?
Yes.
Mr. Rattler?
No.
Item number 7, or was item number 7? So, matters not on the agenda, does anybody have anything?
Go ahead.
Hey, Craig, 365 Cliff Street. Mr. Rollins, I heard your interview on the radio the other day. You said when constituents ask questions that you guys should get answers to them for us. So I was hoping that someone would get to, I asked for capacity bills. We were all aware that we had a disconnect notice from Columbia Gas. We were told that in the last meeting, I believe. And we were told then that bills were prioritized, moved around. That's kind of the way it sounded to me. Payroll, right, was prioritized, and then other bills were skipped. We had the down payment for the fire station. I've asked for the bills that were skipped. I've asked for the disconnect notice. I asked again this week. I asked a month ago, so I've been waiting for a month. I asked Mr. Watts this week, Mr. Watts answered the request because I just said, hey, I'm following up on this. Watts responded to me that we don't keep a list of past due bills. Nobody keeps lists of past due bills. Well, I know a whole bunch of people on my street that keep lists of past due bills because they have to make payments on them to keep payments. And as a municipality, we're not allowed to pay fines or interest. So clearly, if we're having past due bills, we're paying fines and interest on them. So I would think that that would concern you, Ms. Lang, as someone, I mean, talk about you want to get a hold of the budget.
Well, it does concern me.
We're going to get dinged on the, I think I'm allowed to talk right now. We're going to get dinged on the audit. So why aren't we getting this under control now? And we have no money as it is. So all the money that we're spending on fines and interest, we could spend on IRS fines and interest. I don't know, something else other than not paying our bills on time. How are we operating a government like this? I don't understand.
I made a list.
Have you
C, item C,
I don't have
under
your
1. Internal auditor has been restricted in performing her job responsibilities, unable to complete bank reconciliations, reverse entry, and the such. Her job is to review the bills that are or are not being paid.
Okay.
Or
But
what
we were
needs
told
to
a
be
month
paid.
ago that those bills were prioritized, that they made a list, they prioritized payroll, which, thank God. Clearly, there was a sit-down, and bills, I don't know if they laid them out on the table, or if they got a little spreadsheet or what, but they said, we're gonna pay these bills and not these bills, and that bill and not this bill, and clearly there are fees and penalties associated with paying bills late.
Well, I've not seen any fees or
Have you
penalties. I've asked those questions myself.
Have you gotten any answers?
No, I have not. That's my concern. I'm not getting
So then we're
answers.
actually on the same page? for
Yes, for a change we are.
Yes. So, that is something that should concern you all, because we are not getting the information. And I mean, I don't know if Mr. Russell's told you or not, but my case is going. You all are going to pay me. You're going to be getting depositions, including Mr. Nest's wife, now that she wants to get up here and run her mouth about me. But we're all going to be in depositions. So every time you refuse me information, and when I asked Ms. Welch for information, she sent me something, and I said, clearly that's not all of it. I can see it's part of the thread.
Okay,
She said,
this is not a
but she
part
said,
of.
But this is part of it. because
No, it's not.
This is costing the city money. Because when people tell me, I don't know what you're talking about, that's costing the city money. When people are refusing to answer constituent questions and follow the law, that's going to cost the city money. So this is the Finance Commission, this committee. This has to do with money. This does have to do, matters not on the agenda. People not answering records requests are going to cost the city money. Can we agree on that? That's where we are. So I would ask everyone in the room to implore the people that won't answer record requests to answer record requests. And if I can't get them, maybe you can. And if you can't, then maybe you can come raise a little bit of heck at the beginning of the meeting and say, hey, why aren't you giving me this information?
I wrote up a report. I have concerns.
Well, it seems more like you chastising them than asking them for information. But if none of us can get it, then we're all on the same page. So.
Madam Chair, if I may, by my speech tonight, I want to be clear about this. It's not that I don't want to be trained. It's that when you're talking about something that's written on a piece of paper, what Veritas said, I want the finance committee to understand. Now, I know Mr. Schreiber, when he was on the finance committee, I invited him up to show him what my job was. Miss Lois Fisher, I invited her up to my office when my office was in the supply room to show her what my duties were and how I did. I have nothing to hide. This is what I know what I was trained to do. I don't mind some training, things of that nature. But you just don't understand how it was being done. You don't know what's all going on. I'm the one up there talking to these co-workers or whatever you want to call them, internal auditor or deputy auditor and all of them. You gotta see what they're trying to say and do.
What is that? What are they trying to say and do?
That's what I'm saying, you gotta be up there. I can't explain it all. You don't have to have an attitude about it now, I'm just trying to make you know.
Oh, I wasn't having an attitude, I mean, I wish I could come up and experience it, but I also work a job and,
right.
I mean, I can't come up there and hang out. Could you
That's
give us an example of what you mean by, one example?
I mean, I read it to you, I have to be trained in the whole new
Module, yes, which is one new section. If I had a dollar for every time I've had to change my job, I would be a millionaire.
Let me say this also to help you understand. At first they said, now I'm talking about the internal auditor. She gonna switch jobs with me, wait a minute, what sense does that make? So, I'm gonna do your job, you gonna do mine, it's gonna be the same thing. What is going on? Switching jobs, wait, if we're gonna switch, I mean, how that's gonna help things? I'm gonna be doing your job now, you can be doing mine?
Well, I can explain how it can help things, because to...
Oh, you can, huh?
Yes, I can.
You're a CPA accountant.
What?
You're a CPA accountant?
Okay, I'm gonna explain it, and then you let me know if I need to be a CPA accountant to say what I'm gonna say right now. As Mr. Schauber stated earlier at the podium, this whole issue started 5 years ago with reconciliations. For 5 years, we haven't done reconciliations right. So now we have a procedure and policies that say, if you want good reconciliations, this is how you do it. And from my point of view, we have two people that absolutely refuse to freaking do it. So where did I go wrong?
The state auditor recommended it several times before in 2014.
And we're still not doing it.
That's not my fault.
It is your fault. You are the treasurer, sir. You are the treasurer.
I wasn't here in 2014 and 20...
You are here today. And as you just stated, you are here until December 31st, 2025.
Right.
If anyone here doesn't understand after tonight why we need a city charter, you are out of your freaking minds.
Yeah.
Out of your minds.
Resist.
I do have an item, matter not on the agenda, and it's the subject of the bond legislation, and I'd like to have that for discussion tonight. According to the Ohio Revised Code, ORC 731-08, power of legislative authority as to salaries and bonds, except as otherwise provided in Title VII of the Revised Code, the legislation authority of a city by ordinance or resolution shall determine the number of officers, clerks, and employees in each department of the city government and shall fix by ordinance or resolution their prospective salaries, compensation, and the amount of bond to be given for each office, clerk, or employee in each department of the government. If any is required, such bond shall be made by such officer, clerk, or employee with surety subject to approval of the mayor. 73108 empowers legislative authority to determine employees and who has to give bond by ordinance. There is no ordinance for the city of Marion. The clerk has looked and there is no ordinance. According to the Ohio Revised Code, ORC 73319, the deputy auditor in cities, the city auditor may, when authorized by ordinance, appoint a deputy who, in the absence or disability of such auditor, shall perform his duties. Marion City Council in 2023 had discussions during June and July and passed 2 ordinances, of which neither mentioned the requirement of a bond or a dollar amount. Ordinance 2023-030 was an ordinance designating depositories of public monies of the city of Marion and declaring an emergency. Marion City Code, Chapter 123, Auditor Section 123.01, Treasury Investment Board established the Treasury Investment Account. Section B was amended to add the treasurer and the chairperson of Finance Committee of Council to that board as a voting member. Marion City Council in this ordinance added Section 123.02 as follows, and again has no mention of bonds or amounts in reference to ORC 73319 and is not quoted correctly. Now, I do not have a problem with signing a bond. I did get with the auditor's office. We have several employees in the city of Marion whose bond has expired and has not been renewed. The city currently secures bonds with auto owners insurance, and the city also has coverage through Ohio Plan Risk Management, and some of what auto owners covers is also covered under the city insurance plan. I've asked the city safety director to check and see if the coverages for $50,000 can be increased to $100,000, which could save the city money by not having to secure individual bonds for persons $100,000 or less. Then allowing the city of Marion to purchase bonds from auto owners in the amount of $250,000 or more for a cost savings. I did get with Mr. Powell, the safety director, and did ask him to contact and.
That's correct. I did reach out to our representative from Ohio Plan, and he wants a copy of the bonds and what they actually cover before he can give us a quote to see if we are paying 2 times for things that might already be covered under our liability policy. So as soon as I get the copies of the bonds, I will send them to him to review, and then we can get an answer on that question.
So at this point, what I would like to do is pass this on to legislative codes and ask them to develop an ordinance that covers the ORCs, and that way we can make sure everybody in the city is bonded properly, because we do have departments that do handle large sums of money that are not bonded and probably should be, or covered under the liability insurance, whichever. So at this point, I would just like to pass this on to legislature and codes and ask them to get an ordinance in place.
Christian Dunstan, 211 East Fairground. So when was it discovered that the intended legislation to be covering the chairman of the finance committee to be bonded, when was it discovered that it was not needed? When was that brought to somebody's attention, like, oh wait, you don't need that? When did that happen?
when we couldn't find an ordinance stating what it needed to be.
When did that happen? What date?
That was back in February of '24.
So since February 24th, this committee has been very well aware that you did not need to be bonded.
And I did not say I didn't need to be bonded.
No, I'm saying that right now the city's saying there's nothing on the books saying you need to be bonded. There may have been the spirit that you needed to be
Right,
bonded, but there's
correct.
nothing there saying you need to be. And you're saying that the committee knew since 2024.
No, the committee did not know.
So who knew?
I knew.
So you didn't share that information with anybody?
I tried.
When, so I'm from respect. We came the last committee meeting when had a minor meltdown, and we read the ordinance off the bottom of the agenda, and you said if I need to do that, I'll go upstairs and sign it right now. So my question is, why would you say that if you would have known since February you didn't have to do it?
Because everybody seemed to think I had to do it.
But you knew you didn't.
Yeah.
So
And
wouldn't
I-
that have been the time to say, I've done my investigation?
I didn't
I
have
told
the
them
stuff,
that?
I didn't have the document, I didn't have everything with me at that time. I said at that time that there was no ordinances on the books saying that I had to be bonded.
And
Or any
you did.
department for that
You
matter.
did say that. You did say that.
Okay.
And then it was read to you that there are.
Well,
Now-
and the clerk did research and found out that that was language put on there by the previous clerk via a conversation, not legislation. Am I correct?
The conversation happened on the record, and I read the minutes, and it was very clear what they wanted to have happen. Now, it is not your fault or their fault that that wasn't put on an ordinance.
Exactly.
It's not this clerk's fault. But the minutes are very clear what the intention was, is that no matter what party is in charge of finance, the chairperson is bonded completely. That's crystal clear that that's what they wanted. So, but then again, not on you.
And the ORC is,
Yeah,
I mean,
respectfully, I've read it. I've read both of them, like all, I'm with you on that. I'm just trying to figure out, because it's not, and this is for me, so it's not tracking right for me, that when brought to you, that this has to happen, and you know that it doesn't, that you say, if it's that big a deal, I'll just go sign it. When you're saying to me, I've known since February of '24, which is a month into my tenure, that I didn't have to sign a thing that tenured people are telling me I have to sign. So, if there's a lack of communication, it seems like that's a citywide problem that there's a lack of communication.
It is.
Because we're all not making ourselves heard, which is a problem. So until we are all be able to be crystal, we should not be throwing rocks at anybody else because they have a communication problem. Because that just breeds bad feelings and it makes us not want to work together. And that's what we should want to do. So I'll take you at your word because you've never said anything to me that I would believe is like not true. I'll take you at your word that you've known since February. I'm just going to say, as a person who is a voter, please make your voice clearer and and I don't mean this as a slight.
I know, and I'm new at this.
Don't advocate for your ward the way you advocated for yourself. Because that is your ultimate job here, is to advocate for your ward, period. So please make it clear what your ward needs and make it clear what you know to be true. And you can do that if you're sitting next to two gentlemen who are fact-based. They do not believe in he said, she said. If you give them facts, that's what they will run with.
And I'm fact-based also.
So just please, just in the future,
I
be
appreciate that.
better at advocating for yourself and your ward and the city, and I think we'll be all fine. So thank you for explaining it.
Now, maybe I have a fundamental misunderstanding, and, I was part of the conversation and made the motion that passed the ordinance that You know, some people thinks yes, bond, some people say that it isn't in there. Now, it was my understanding, and I thought the way it was explained to us, that anyone who is in a position that can and will sign for transfers has to be bonded per the Ohio Revised Code. So when the motion was made to have the chair of finance be the backup for the treasurer, because I believe the way that it was in there was a position that had been changed and wasn't even a proper job title. And it was done with the understanding that they would have to be bonded. And the understanding of council was that the Ohio Revised Code said they had to be bonded. So we didn't have to put that in there because that was already, once we made the person the backup, it was already understood that that had to be done.
The Ohio Revised Code does not say that the finance chair has to be bonded.
Does it say that if you sign transfers, you have to be bonded?
Not that I found.
I can research and get back to you, I can't tell you.
Okay, because it was the understanding of council back then that was in the Ohio Revised Code.
It's a direct quote from the Journal of Proceedings with the understanding that.
So we understood that when we made the finance chair the backup to the treasurer, we did that with the understanding that the finance chair was going to carry a bond.
And the finance chair is an elected official doing an administrative job, which I don't even agree with that. Because I'm not administration. I'm an elected official. I'm not an administrator with the city, and you've got me doing an administrator's job.
Well, I don't have you doing.
No. But by putting the finance chair on there, it, like the budget of finance and director of finance and budget would be a good person to put on the Treasury Investment Board and then also be a backup to the treasurer. So I think maybe we need to look at the whole picture again.
And that's fine. No one has brought forward a change.
Well, and that's why I'm addressing it tonight, because I would like to have more discussion and see change and get legislation in place so that it is clear and we are following the ORC. I've been bonded before. I don't have a problem with being bonded. That is not the issue. The issue is we're not following law. And intent, I understand, I get that. Intent is not the law.
Naomi Craig, 365 Silver Street. What if I told you I had an audio recording of June 23rd, 2023 that I'm going to have transposed? Would that help anything? Because then they would know exactly what happened in council. Anyway.
I have the minutes.
I have the actual audio, all 2+ hours of it, so we'll know exactly what was said. Was the bond paid for that you never signed?
Yes.
So we ate money on a bond that was never going to be able to be used?
Not necessarily. We've got several people that their bonds are...
I asked about you. I didn't ask about several people. So your bond that was never signed, we paid for it. Now, March 11th, I have the email. You sent, Chelsea from the auditor's office sent you an email telling you that as the head of the new finance chair, that you would need to be bonded and that she had the paperwork in her office and that you need to come fill it out. That was March 4th. March 11th, she followed back up with you and said, hey, come sign the bond. You emailed her back and said, I haven't decided if I'm going to sign the bond yet. That was March 11th. I don't have the exact dates because I don't have your notebook with me, but twice last year in a public meeting, I asked if you were bonded, because after you started the stuff that you knew more than the IRS, I was starting to get concerned. And I asked you in a public meeting, I do also have the audio for that, if you were bonded.
And I asked the auditor, and the auditor said I was.
No, you did not ask her. You looked me in the eye and said yes.
Because I had previously asked the auditor if I had been bonded, and she said yes.
She's been drug into this, but do you know, did she Was she ever bonded according to you? Did you know? It wasn't your job really to follow up on, but.
According to auto owners, the people that actually write the bonds, they can choose whether or not they will honor the bond if it's ever called when it's not signed.
And we've all dealt with insurance companies, though. We know they won't pay it if they don't have to.
So, in all honesty, it was
You
a
thought,
question.
but, well, I guess you didn't necessarily follow up if the piece of paper had been signed, because again, you're probably busy doing other things besides chasing signatures down, notices.
Right, I mean, I had known, during the course of last year, I had known that she hadn't signed the bond.
So when I asked her and she said yes, she didn't look over at you and you told her, yes, you're bonded. In a council meeting, did you look and tell her, yeah, you're bonded?
I don't recall that conversation.
Okay, because she just said that you told her she was bonded in the council meeting, but the audio and video exists, so we can always go back and listen. So, you didn't think you had to be bonded, you didn't sign the bond, then you told me you were bonded in the meeting because the auditor told you you were bonded when you looked over and had a mind-to-mind conversation. I just don't understand what the deal is, why you won't sign the bond. I mean, you just said, oh, I'll sign it. You said it 2 weeks ago that you would sign it. What's the deal? Like, it's a free layer of protection, I don't get it.
There's no legislation in place.
So why didn't you say that a year ago?
I don't know, because I was.
Because you weren't put on the spot?
Do you have any other questions?
You don't have an answer for that then. My other questions, you probably won't have answers to either. So we'll wait till you have to do this.
Is there any other questions or comments? Not, we're adjourned, 8:36.
Oh, no. You can't act like that and then leave.
Remind me of that shopper got, the guy that got up 50 times and said he wasn't gonna get up.
It wasn't 50, I thought it was 46.
I'm just kidding. Okay, you're just programming my children.
Good meeting, Clay.
Huh?
You did great. That's a good meeting, you did good.
I don't think I did.
You did. You got the names right up here, Matt?
It doesn't matter.
I wouldn't want anyone to think I was Aaron.
Oh, you guys, grow out your beard. You got another 12 years to get that beard out that big.
No one wanted to hang out with us for our meeting. Everyone left.
I'm okay with setting a goal at 8:40 and being out of here.
I think we'll get there.
You keep it moving. You keep saying yes.
I didn't come into work till 1 o'clock today, and I'm still gonna have an 8-hour day.
Here.
Okay, I'm ready. I'm ready.
You ready?
Yes, sir.
8:38, we're going to call Legislation Codes and Regulations Committee to order. Clerk, could you please take roll?
Mr. Neff?
Here.
Mr. T. Smith?
Here.
Mr. Schauber?
Here.
We have a summary of proceedings from 317.
I mean, we approve it as submitted.
Second.
Clerk, could you please take roll?
Mr. Neff?
Yes.
Mr. T. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Schauber?
Yes.
We have one item of new business, and it's a new liquor permit for 138 South Main Street. This is actually a new D1 and a D3, which is on-site consumption of beer and spirits, and it's going to be Ray Ray's Barbecue. Do we have any input from police or fire? Any thoughts?
We know no reason to object.
Thank you.
Beer and barbecue.
Thank you. Does anyone else have anything on this?
I will make a motion that we take no action and follow that up with a question that, what building is this?
It's the old Taste of Memphis.
Okay, that's what I thought. All right. Okay.
That's a great thing, so.
Yep, sure.
Great thing. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second. Yes, sir.
Clerk, could you please take roll?
Mr. Neff?
Yes.
Mr. T. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Schauber?
Yes.
Moving on to matters not on the agenda. Anyone have anything for the committee?
I have nothing.
Other than that, we're adjourned, 8:40.
Good job.
You're not bad, you're on me.
Hey, I was gonna ask a question,
Okay.
about the,
Yeah.
I told him, I said, I
bond thing, can we put something together?
I'm like, I was being nice.
Yeah, we
guy,
can
put it
work on
the
that.
agenda this week.
Yes.
Meeting that hasn't been called, I called.
For another day. Oh, yeah, it doesn't have to be long.
Chuck, early this morning, wanting to know why we had.
Give me a call tomorrow or whenever. Whatever.
It's nothing serious.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is
I can review something when I
too
get
much
it, and the state's gonna have
But
sending it like.
I wouldn't leave,
Wednesday morning.
situation.
And I gotta have it Thursday night for committee, so.
If that was the case.
I watched the live stream there too.